Breaking news. AOC's campaign fundraising has plummeted 30% in the last quarter, with 3 senior staffers exiting within months. Internal documents reveal a campaign in disarray. What's really happening behind closed doors at Team AOC? Today, we're examining the polling data, staff exodus, and policy missteps that have her team scrambling for damage control. The numbers don't lie, and they tell a troubling story for the progressive representative. The cracks in AOC's progressive empire are starting to show, and her dwindling cash flow is just the beginning. For years, she rode a wave of leftist enthusiasm, backed by small-dollar donors eager to fund her revolution. But now, that energy is fading fast. What's behind the collapse? Voter fatigue, broken promises, and a growing sense that AOC is more interested in social media clout than real legislative wins. Even among progressives, there's frustration over her inability to deliver on key issues like Medicare for all and the Green New Deal. Big, bold promises that remain nothing more than slogans. And let's not forget the scandals and hypocrisy that have chipped away at her credibility. From her tax the rich Met Gala stunt to her sudden coziness with establishment Democrats, AOC has alienated both the radicals and the moderates. The result? A financial freefall that could spell serious trouble for her future in Congress. If this downward trend continues, AOC might find herself facing the one thing she never expected: political irrelevance. What makes this collapse particularly damning is how it contradicts everything AOC once represented. This is a congresswoman who proudly refused corporate PAC money and built her reputation on small-dollar donations from everyday Americans. Those same supporters are now abandoning her in droves. The average donation to AOC's campaign has remained relatively stable at around $22, but the total number of individual contributors has plummeted by over 40%. In her previous campaign, more than 120,000 people had donated by this point. Current figures? Barely 70,000. That's 50,000 supporters who've decided AOC no longer deserves their hard-earned dollars. Perhaps most telling is the collapse of her national donor base. Ocasio-Cortez once boasted that supporters from across America believed in her progressive vision. Now, out-of-district donations have cratered by 47%. AOC's star power beyond New York has dimmed dramatically, with particularly sharp declines in states like California and Washington, where she once enjoyed robust support. Internal campaign documents we've obtained paint a picture of mounting panic. In a confidential memo dated just 3 weeks ago, AOC's financial director wrote, "Current fundraising trajectories will not sustain planned Q3 and Q4 operations. Without immediate corrective action, we face significant budgetary shortfalls by September." Another internal email shows campaign leadership discussing emergency reallocation of resources and scaling back of previously approved initiatives. The cash crunch is already having real-world consequences. AOC's campaign has reduced its digital advertising budget by 35% compared to the same period last cycle. Field office expansions in key neighborhoods like Jackson Heights and Parkchester have been indefinitely postponed. Even her vaunted social media team has been downsized, with 3 positions left unfilled after recent departures. AOC's downfall isn't just a fluke. It's the inevitable collapse of a fraud. Her entire career has been built on cheap slogans, socialist pipe dreams, and performative outrage. Now, reality is catching up with her. While Trump-backed candidates rake in millions from energized grassroots supporters, AOC's campaign is hemorrhaging cash. Why? Because even her own base is waking up to the scam. She positioned herself as the future of the Democratic Party, but instead of delivering real results, she's been busy playing dress-up at elitist galas, making cringeworthy TikToks, and spewing socialist nonsense on Instagram Live. Her biggest accomplishments? Whining on Twitter and pretending she's oppressed while raking in a 6-figure congressional salary. Her crumbling fundraising is just the tip of the iceberg. The people in her district, actual working-class Americans, are sick of the grift. The woke activists might still love her, but the hard-working Hispanics, young voters, and small business owners who once believed in her are jumping ship. They've realized she cares more about retweets than results. Her approval ratings are nosediving, her donations are drying up, and her own staff is abandoning her. Trump, on the other hand, stronger than ever. His rallies are packed, his movement is growing, and despite every attempt from the media and the deep state to take him down, he's still standing because he delivers. Meanwhile, AOC's political career is rotting from the inside out. She bet everything on fake socialism and empty promises, and now she's facing the consequences. If this trend continues, she won't just lose influence, she'll lose her seat. And honestly, good riddance. Let's examine the 3 key departures that have sent shockwaves through her operation. Communications Director Melissa Rodriguez, who had been with AOC since her historic 2018 upset victory, abruptly resigned in March after 4 years as the architect of AOC's messaging strategy. Just 5 weeks later, campaign strategy chief David Chen, widely credited with developing her district outreach blueprint, submitted his resignation letter. Most recently, field coordinator Tanya Williams, who managed AOC's extensive volunteer network, departed in May after 3 years with the campaign. What's particularly troubling is the conflicting narratives surrounding these departures. The official campaign line suggests these were routine professional transitions, with AOC's press secretary releasing statements calling them planned career moves and amicable separations. However, insider accounts tell a dramatically different story. Sources close to the former staffers describe an environment of growing frustration and fundamental disagreements about campaign direction. A series of leaked internal communications has exposed deep rifts within AOC's team. In one particularly revealing email exchange from February, Rodriguez and Chen argued forcefully against what they called an overemphasis on national progressive talking points at the expense of addressing specific district concerns. Another leaked message from Williams questioned whether the campaign was losing touch with what voters in the Bronx and Queens actually care about. This internal discord reflects a growing tension between AOC's status as a national progressive icon and her responsibilities as a district representative. While her platform of Medicare for All and the Green New Deal catapulted her to national fame, many constituents have expressed increasing concern that local issues are being neglected. Community leaders in parts of the district have complained about unresponsiveness to neighborhood-specific problems like infrastructure improvements and public safety concerns. The immigration issue perfectly illustrates this disconnect. AOC's outspoken advocacy for progressive immigration policies, including her high-profile visits to detention facilities and calls for ICE abolition, have cemented her national brand. However, moderate voters in her district, particularly in areas with large immigrant communities who came to the United States legally, have expressed frustration with positions they view as too extreme. This growing ideological gap between AOC's national stance and local constituent expectations has become a significant source of campaign tension. The staff exodus has also exposed operational disarray within the campaign. Several community events were either missed entirely or double-booked in April, including a prominent small business forum in Corona that AOC was scheduled to attend but never appeared for. Local organizers reported increasing difficulty reaching campaign staff for coordination, with response times for constituent inquiries increasing from 48 hours to over a week in many cases. Perhaps most concerning for AOC's prospects is the campaign's struggle to recruit replacement talent. According to sources familiar with the hiring process, at least 2 candidates who reached the final interview stage for the communications director position ultimately declined offers. One potential hire reportedly cited concerns about the current campaign environment as their reason for turning down the role. The campaign has been forced to promote junior staffers into positions they lack experience for, creating a leadership vacuum at a critical juncture. The full extent of the internal dysfunction becomes even clearer in exclusive interviews with former staffers. Speaking on condition of anonymity, one described an atmosphere of constant panic mode, where long-term strategy has been replaced by reactive decision-making. Another characterized the current campaign environment as rudderless, noting that meetings that used to focus on constituent outreach now revolve around damage control and messaging adjustments to address declining poll numbers. Most damning is the account from a senior advisor who recently departed. There's a fundamental unwillingness to acknowledge that the approach that worked in 2018 and 2020 isn't connecting with voters now. When staff raise concerns about the disconnect between national messaging and district needs, they're often sidelined or labeled as not being progressive enough. So what happens now? While AOC has publicly stated she remains committed to her constituents and is focused on addressing their needs, her actions will speak louder than words. The coming weeks represent a critical juncture for her political career. Can her team rebuild trust with local voters feeling neglected? Will they develop a strategy that balances national progressive ambitions with the immediate concerns of New York's 14th congressional district? Or will they continue down the current path? The implications extend beyond just one congressional seat. AOC's trajectory could signal larger shifts within progressive politics. As we continue monitoring these developments, one thing is clear. For Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the time for political recalibration is now.